What's up, y'all? You're watching Union Minded. I'm your host, Eric, and today we're going to talk about a position the oligarchs of this land are starting to take. And really, it's one that they've always taken, but it's one that a memo leaked and kind of showed the position of the ruling class. It was a memo that came from Bank of America, so really it's specific to Bank of America. But it still is revealing to how the investment class, this class of folks that dances in Wall Street and profits off of the suffering of working people, how they're thinking. This story comes from The Intercept. But first, don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell, and drop some comments, maybe some ideas for future topics, anything really, criticisms, it's all good. It all helps with the algorithm and helps to promote the channel, which helps to push the message forward. Now, I don't know if you can hear it, but it's starting to storm out here. Getting ready for work. But I thought that this story was pretty important, and I wanted to make this video for you guys so that you guys can get up to date on some of the crazy stuff that's going on out there and what we need to be aware of and mindful of so that we can avoid any pit traps that we may fall into fighting each other when we should be looking up and fighting those who are oppressing us. So without further ado, let's get into it. The Intercept reports, Bank of America memo revealed, we hope conditions for American workers will get worse. The financial behemoth privately fears that regular people have too much leverage. Regular folks got too much leverage. Imagine that. God forbid the working class ever gets some leverage, even though it's when this country was at its highest, was when the working people were doing their best. You got a lot of people, you got a very small number of folks right now profiting like crazy while everybody else is stuck in the mud. But I digress. Let's jump into this. A Bank of America executive stated that we hope working Americans will lose leverage in the labor market in a recent private memo obtained by The Intercept. Making predictions for clients about the U.S. economy over the next several years, the memo also noted that changes in the percentage of Americans seeking jobs should help push up the unemployment rate. Imagine wanting the unemployment rate to be high. You just want people to suffer, and it's amazing to me that they hold this position and also at the same time oppose any kind of social safety net that might help people live a decent life. The memo, a mid-year review from June 17th, was written by Ethan Harris, the head of global economics research for the corporation's investment banking arm, Bank of America Securities. Again, this is the investment arm of the bank. But make no mistake, this is an executive sending a memo out to let investors know what he hopes is going to be happening and what he's lobbying for, essentially. Its specific aspiration, by the end of next year, we hope the ratio of job openings to unemployed is down to the more normal highs of the last business cycle. The memo comes amid a push by the Federal Reserve to cool down the economy because the economy is just too hot. Got to cool it down. Cool down the economy. Informed by much of the same rationale that high wages are driving inflation. High wages are driving inflation. How about corporate profits skyrocketing? No, that's not causing inflation. How about bailing out PPP loans? No, that didn't cause inflation. How about bailing out the stock market to the tune of like $4 trillion? No, that wasn't inflation. No, it was wages going up. That's causing all the problems. It wasn't the gas prices being overpriced. No. Grocery stores overpricing shit? No, it's the wages. It's the wages. Can't imagine these folks. This year, the Fed has increased interest rates for the first time since 2018. Historically, this has often caused recessions, and that is exactly what appears to be happening now. The Commerce Department reported Thursday that the gross domestic product has fallen for the second quarter in a row, indicating that a recession may have already begun. Parts of the mid-year review, in particular its emphasis on a looming recession, received press coverage at the time of the memo's release to clients. This is the first publication of the document in full. What the memo calls the ratio of job openings to unemployed is generally calculated the other way around, i.e. the ratio of unemployed people to job openings. The more widely used ratio offers one measurement of the balance of power between workers and employers. The lower this number, the more options unemployed people have when searching for work, and the greater opportunities employed people have to switch to jobs with better pay and conditions. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, this ratio stood at 0.5 as of May, meaning that there were then 2 job openings per unemployed person. 2 job openings per unemployed person. That means you had options, option A and option B. The employer only had option A, you, that was it. So 2 guys fighting for you, two business owners fighting for you versus you and a bunch of other folks trying to fight for one position. You see where the power lies? It's with the people. But they hate that. In 2009, at the worst moments of the economic calamity following the collapse of the housing bubble during the end of the George W. Bush administration, the ratio climbed as high as 6.5. So there were more than 6 unemployed workers for each person looking for a job. I'm sorry, I said that all. Mine went too fast. It climbed as high as 6.5. So there were more than 6 unemployed workers for each open job. It then slowly declined over the next decade, reaching 0.8 in February of 2020 before COVID-19 lockdowns began. This recent unusual moment of worker leverage made Bank of America quite anxious. The memo expresses distress about a record tight labor market, stating that wage pressures are going to be hard to reverse. While there may have been some one-off increases in some pockets of the labor market, the upward pressure extends to virtually every industry, income, and skill level. That last part was straight from the memo. Wage pressures are going to be hard to reverse. While there may have been some one-off increases in some pockets of the labor market, the upward pressure extends to virtually every industry, income, and skill level. Workers are gaining power in this economy, and they hate it. I told you, man, we on a labor wave. We are riding a wave, and we got to keep on surfing and building and oscillating and growing this wave until it's a tidal wave. The memo recalls a previous Bank of America memo in 2021, which it says warned of very strong momentum in the labor market, suggesting the economy would not just hit, but blow through full employment. Fast forward to today, and these trends have been worse than expected. The memo is an uncanny demonstration that the economist Adam Smith was right when he described the politics of inflation in his famed 1776 work, The Wealth of Nations. Quote, "High profits tend much more to raise the price of work than high wages," Smith argued. "Our merchants and master manufacturers complain much of the bad effects of high wages in raising the price. They say nothing concerning the bad effects of high profits. They are silent with regard to the pernicious effects of their own gains. They complain only of those of other people." End quote. Thus, exactly as Smith would have predicted, Bank of America complains loudly about the bad effects of high wages in raising prices, but appears to be silent about the pernicious effect of high profits. This is especially remarkable given the role that corporate profits have played in the recent increase in inflation. What did I tell you? After tax, corporate profits stood at 8.1% of the economy at the beginning of 2020, but have since shot up to as high as 11.8% of the GDP. In an economy the size of the US, that equals an increase of more than $700 billion in profits per year. These higher corporate profits have been the cause of over 50% of recent price increases. Instead, the memo is focused on the enticing prospect of the Federal Reserve raising interest rates, slowing the economy, and bludgeoning workers back in line. Because that's what they want. They want you starving and hungry and having to accept whatever scraps they dropped for you. The perspective of working Americans would generally be exactly the opposite. For most of us, it's fantastic to have lots of jobs available, with employers competing for you. A tight labor market is wonderful. Wage pressures are great. From this viewpoint, the key issue right now would be how to lower inflation while keeping employment and worker power high. Such a tact would include full-bore attempts to lessen supply chain issues and reduce the pricing power of big corporations. Most interesting of all is that in Bank of America's enthusiasm for the Fed going on the attack against working people, it gets the basic facts wrong. Wage pressures have turned out not to be, as its memo claims, hard to reverse. If you did see continually This is a quote. If you did see continually accelerating wage growth, it would be a problem. This is from Dean Baker, senior economist at the Center for Economic and Policy Research, a liberal Washington, D.C. think tank. He told The Intercept in an email that that would almost certainly mean a wage price spiral with even higher inflation. However, nominal wage growth has slowed sharply from around a 6.0% annual rate to just over 4.0% in recent months. So Bank of America wants the Fed to raise rates and unemployment to attack a problem, accelerating wage growth, that doesn't exist in the world. The memo therefore tells us what we suspected all along. The most powerful economic actors in the U.S., entities like Bank of America and its clients, do not like working people to have power. But it's nice to have it in their own words. Harris, the author, was not available for comment. Now, this article was written by Ken Klippenstein and John Schwartz. This came out July 29th, 2022 at 10:50 a.m. It's on The Intercept. Easy to find and read on the internet for yourself. But this is the heart of the problem. These folks don't want us to have a decent living condition. That means we are diametrically opposed because we want to have a decent life. We're not trying to slave away our lives for nothing and then pass that same nothingness on to the next generation. We're trying to have a decent life. And we are diametrically opposed to these corporate powers, these banking powers. So when you are a working person who works 5 days for a week for your living to provide for your family, you're not part of that class. So your sympathy and empathy shouldn't be with them. You may want to be a part of that class. Maybe, I'm sure. I mean, who doesn't want to be a millionaire so friggin' bad? But dude, we got to also realize where we live, and how we move as a community is going to determine where the chips fall and how the tide breaks. It's going to be on us. Our efforts are what's going to either save the working class or let it die. But make no mistake, they're coming for us. Wake up. This fight ain't left and right. It's up and down. It's going to take solidarity to win always. Each one teach one. Get out there and reach one. Peace.